It's time for Gardening Inside Out, a live show offering you plant advice for any space in your life. Introducing your perennial hosts, David Bates and Josh Carey.
Hey, and welcome in, everybody. It's time for the Gardening Inside Out show, coming to you from Bates Hollow here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center in the Green Room Studios. It's going to be a glorious day today, David Bates.
It is live from Bates Rainy Hollow.
Oh,
today.
That's true. Yeah.
It is going to be on the wet side most decidedly today,
That's
so
okay.
let's just get into that and get through it. Then we'll talk about, well, gardening. That's what we do here. So coming up, here we'll go straight to the rain. We're currently here at the nursery getting rain at about almost a quarter of an inch per hour. So it's a pretty substantial amount. We've had 56 hundredths for the day. We're officially over 5 inches for the year. We actually missed a few tenths one day when our station was down. So we're probably actually already at 6 inches for the year. Go to the radar here quickly, and there you see we have, we've got precipitation in the area, and it's going to continue through the day. And let's get right into the forecast. Today is, of course, Saturday, and it's the 10th of February. We're looking at rain today, more than an inch, probably inch and a third, inch and a half. It's going to be wet. Let's just put it that way. And that's going to continue. The good news is it's going to be mild, 64 degrees for the high today. Tomorrow, Sunday, the rain will be ending, but the clouds will be hanging around because they're waiting on Monday. And on Monday, the rain returns. Not so much, though, only maybe 3 or 4 tenths of an inch, 56 for the high on Monday. But, and I'll say that loudly, we have sunshine that returns Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 54, 61, 64. So pretty nice midweek forecast, just in time for clouds and rain to return in all likelihood next weekend. Because after all, why would it be the exception? Currently 58 degrees here, and pretty much a steady rain here live from the green room at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Who's across the table,
everyone
David?
Tune in this morning and help us along here and talk about what you want to talk about. And let's go ahead and say good morning to Caroline and Austin. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Welcome in today. And to Tyler Blankenship. That was a voice off screen that you heard there.
Good morning.
Good morning,
I'm
Tyler.
finally doing the picture-in-picture thing.
You're in the plants right now. Look at you. You're like a beautiful little cyclamen. Oh.
And he's got rocking the I like to play in the dirt shirt, so that's looking good this morning.
Is that a new and exciting for spring? Is that a new design? I know it's not a new design.
We had it. We got it last year, and we have them in blue for sale, and we're working on getting the green for sale. So we haven't started selling this nice deep green yet. So
somehow I detect green. Josh is feeling neglected there.
Oh,
Josh,
I see by those big
shirts. I have dirt hats. I have dirt
now.
bottles. I got the whole collection of the Earth Mix Garden products fashion line.
You have one of these.
Fashion line.
I have a hat.
Hey, while we're talking about Tyler's shirt, we did get a question about making a new shirt. It says, when do we get to the dirt shirts? Because I know Austin always says, cut it to the dirt.
Yeah.
So we might need a second one, a new design. I don't know. That'd be pretty good.
To the dirt.
Maybe with Austin's face on it.
Well, we've already got, Austin's already got featured on stickers. I mean, it's worth a grow, man. Come on. So
stickers.
They hide them around the nursery, folks. It's like little Easter eggs that they stick them around. You have to go find one.
You do.
Well, one thing's for sure that anyone who's out and about today is going to have to contend with the weather, whether you like it or not. That's another issue altogether. However, we're going to be here, and we'll be happy to see you. And we'll be happy to see you indoors because we do have that level of facilities here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. So we invite you to come by anytime after 9 o'clock and before 2 o'clock. And we're here to answer your questions in person. But in the meantime, we're going to answer questions and talk about plants in the real time right now. And we're glad to have everyone tuning in today on all the various connections. I know that
Yep.
Things are beginning to emerge after a week of warmth. We start to see flowers begin to emerge.
My hellebores are glorious.
Austin, what are you hearing people begin to inquire about mostly?
I think just beginning to inquire, I think is the word. Like this week, we finally feel that first little uptick, that little just breath of spring, and people are feeling it as well. So people are out. We've seen more people this week for sure. In January around here, it's pretty dead. Nobody's really coming out all that much. But this week, we really saw an uptick in people. So that's good to see. I mean, still a lot of houseplant people. Caroline's World is still hopping in there. And people are buying that. But there's people, carts loaded with hellebore this week. We've got the best selection of hellebore in the mid-state, probably the whole state, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Hundreds of hellebore that are in full bloom, showing their full color. And there's some really pretty ones. I know I've talked about hellebore before and how they annoy me when the blooms turn down and they don't look up at me. But now they're really making new hybrids and new cultivars of ones that really don't point perfectly up, but they're at least like halfway up, so you can really see all their glory.
What kind of colors?
So are you saying, Austin, that you feel a little dissed by the hellebores?
Yeah.
Because they're not showing you your proper respect.
Yes, exactly what I'm saying.
Well, they're bending the knee. Think about it, Austin. They're bending the knee to you, so it's all good.
I guess if I think about it that way, but
Still annoyed.
It kind of.
What kind of colors are you seeing over there?
We got some deep burgundy colors. We got some white. We got some soft pink. We had one that was like a white and yellow together. It was beautiful.
Stunning. And some that are really tall, like the blooms actually go taller than you would typically see. So they make great cut flowers. As well.
And then some super squat and tight flowers, like, really tucked in the foliage. So there's a number of varieties. If you're needing a shade-loving evergreen perennial that blooms this time of year, hellebore's the way to go, and we got them.
And it's really the only one that does what it does too.
Yeah.
It is a showstopper this time of year, and it's the one that how could you not be impressed by it, because it has no competition. There's just nothing else that's doing anything right now to speak of. More will be coming along, but when it comes out to the things that are going on early in the season, it really dominates.
It just makes you happy to walk across the dead yard and see a flower, man. But they get leggy. And again, we've talked about the field of hellebores at my daughter's residence, and she's got a beautiful bed of them. They get a little leggy. Do we need to cut them back and chop them off a little bit?
I never cut mine.
Okay.
What do you mean by leggy, though?
Well, it just seems like there's, because they spread kind of rhizomously, don't they? Okay, so the ones that are down below seem to be much more healthy than the ones that are up above in the canopy, as I would call it.
Yeah, that's just kind of the old growth versus the new growth. So, if you don't like looking at that old growth that looks a little rough, we've talked about this before. Some of those older leaves that have been up,
right?
If they've got black spots or, turning yellow a little or just off color,
right,
then you can certainly cut that old growth back and let new light shine on that new growth. And
they do begin to stretch as they age.
They do.
Maybe that's a better word than
I think a cleanup is probably the word for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Rather than like a hard prune or something, just a cleanup. Just take some of those yuck leaves.
Make it pretty again.
What kind of fertilizer do they like?
Just a nice,
just a good all-purpose,
holly tone, all-purpose fertilizer. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Steve on the Facebook page says a nice rainy morning in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Hellebores are really starting to bloom here in the bluegrass. So all over the place. I know mine are blooming. Well, mine aren't quite fully open, but the buds are peeking up out of my pine straw that's all around them, and I can't wait.
And when you say shade tolerant and shade loving, you are correct, because I have a stretch of them that's about 10 feet long. The ones that are more shaded than are doing much, much, much better than the ones on the other end of the row.
Yep.
Yeah, mine are in full shade that I have planted.
They're fine in full shade.
Yeah,
they really are.
All right, I think it's time to throw some pictures or maybe videos up, Tyler.
Oh, yeah?
Everyone has been waiting to see what Pam did with that pine tree.
Pam!
The neat gardener.
The tidy gardener husband. Yep. And Pam says, good morning from Bend, Oregon. So I guess Pam's currently traveling, but still watching us.
Bend, Oregon is the second most beautiful place on the planet, followed only by the west coast of Maui, Davids. But, Bend, Oregon, the air smells so good. I mean, it's just pine scented.
Well, let's just envision that we're there and look at this pine tree that's
Oh my God.
glowing in gold there along the side of the house. And of course, the whole issue has been that the tree was actually planted too closely to the house.
Yep.
And this is the common, it's probably the most common mistake that is made by people who are planting. And it's not limited to just homeowners. I've seen professionals do it. It's easy to believe that something is going to not ever get as big as it actually will get. And conifers don't stop growing. They just keep growing. And because of that, when you plant one too close, you have to deal with this issue.
They did dig down to the root ball of the plant, and I think they got some of the roots out. So it wasn't just a straight cut. But
they did not transplant it, is the point.
It looks like they tried to. She did also send a video where they did dig around it and they tried to hook it up to the tractor to pull it.
Yeah.
And in the video,
No,
she says
that
it's
never
not
works
even
out
budging
good.
at
Didn't budge.
all.
Yeah.
So David, the tidy gardener, had to bring it down.
Well,
But it had
they
a good
dealt with-
life.
yeah. It's okay.
Well, we have photographic memories of it.
That's right. Thank you, Pam, for sending those in. I hope you're having a
Absolutely.
lovely time in Oregon.
Yeah, thanks for watching in
Oh,
Oregon.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
It
For
just
thinking of
shoots
us.
river, guys. It runs right through the town. It's just awesome.
Josh wants to
lives
just
in
keep
Eugene.
talking
Everywhere
about
you
this.
see mountains. I mean, massive mountains with, it's just gorgeous.
Speaking of Oregon, it looks to me like that they are trending well ahead of us season-wise this year. And the reason that's a pertinent thing is that we do bring in quite a lot of plant material from the Pacific Northwest in the
Boring
the
area,
Willamette,
right?
in the Willamette Valley in particular. And those plants are going to likely arrive pushing new growth, Austin. So, it's one of those things that we need to be mindful of is that some years they are behind us, others they are ahead. And this year they're definitely going to be ahead. So I'm sure Julie has trucks coming in from Pacific Northwest so that we can get things in here that are critical before they break too much.
Yeah, we got some stuff coming. I know next week, specifically on Monday, we have an Isley truck coming in. Yeah, but not. Hey, don't get too excited.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
There was
Keep
an
my powder
Isley
dry.
There was an Isley truck coming through to Nashville, and they had about, I think Julie told me, about 8 foot or so at the back of their semi that was empty. So they called us, Isley Nursery called us and said, hey, we can add if you want anything. So Julie put on about 40 emerald green arborvitaes, the perfect number 10 emeralds that come in a true
Those
5
are
to 6 foot
perfect.
tall. They're picture perfect all the time. So we're going to get about 40 of those on Monday, just as a little precursor to what we're going to get. But we're bringing them in.
Yeah, these are just the very early shipments. Quickly we will evolve to 8 to 10 semis a day.
Deluges.
It's unbelievable, Austin, as we go through the spring season, how this caravan of semis that rolls through that never seems to stop. It is unbelievable. This train load of semis that come through here.
It's amazing to me still to talk to customers about this because like this time of year, people are getting antsy. I understand, we're still kind of keeping on the stock that we had from last year. So numbers are low, we don't have a ton of stuff. I mean, we have a lot of stuff, don't get me wrong, but but they'll always ask me, well, like, okay, well, when is this going to come in? Or like, when are you expecting that truck? I'm like, we could get 10 trucks that have that on it. You know what I mean? Like it never stops out here with the semis, like David was just saying, like them rolling through here. It's not like one truck brings those plants and then that's it for the year. Like it doesn't work like that. They are constantly rolling because y'all are constantly buying.
And they thank you for that. Yes.
That's right.
And Julie stays at it. She is the goddess of all things green, and she does a masterful job of making sure that we always have just what you're looking for. And if it's not here right now, probably be here in a few days.
Yeah.
And that only increases as we head towards the spring season, and it's getting closer day by day.
Have they asked for tomato plants yet, Austin?
No, you haven't got
Okay.
not that one yet. It's coming. I guarantee it's
Be
coming
today.
soon.
No
Okay.
doubt.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Shannon's wondering, Austin, curious to know if Austin is as anxious for warm spring days as my forsythia.
Shannon.
You gave it away, Tyler.
Oh, Shannon.
Of course I'm
Shannon's
gonna
one
put
of
him
our
on
landscape
blast.
Specialist out here, good friend of mine. Yes, Shannon, I am excited like your forsythia. I'm ready for it. You know I am. Why would you even ask that?
He's ready. But we are also ready for questions.
Yes,
so let's
we
go
are.
ahead
Let's
and
do
dive
it.
in.
Yeah.
We're going to
Let's
start with
do it.
camellia. Best locations for camellias in Middle Tennessee home gardens.
All right. Camellia. Okay, so camellia is a somewhat shade-ish loving plant, but not like full shade. Okay, it's not like your hellebore that prefers the full shade. It is a sun lover for at least roughly 4 to 6 hours, depending on what time of day you're getting it. So we want to try to avoid that nasty late in the afternoon sun if we can help
Can't
it.
handle it.
Yeah, it doesn't want it. Like it could probably live, but it'll stress a little bit. So what we really want is that like morning to midday sun to where it's getting a nice direct sun for about 4 to 5 hours roughly, and then we're getting a little protection from the afternoon. So I've got mine in that type of scenario where it gets sun during the day, and it's actually up against a brick wall. So it gets some radiant heat off of that during the wintertime, which is helpful for camellia as well because they can be a little less hardy than some other shrubs. But that location is kind of where you want to have them, and I think everybody should have some camellia because it's one of the most beautiful flowering evergreen plants we can grow here.
And they had
And
a
if you
gorgeous
wanna
year
toast-
this year too, didn't they?
Camellia,
And if you wanna-
Mine didn't.
Really?
And if you want to toast them crispy, have a brick home and plant them on the west side of
Yeah.
the house where they get all afternoon sun and that reflected heat off the brick. It will cook them.
It does.
And again, like Austin mentioned, it might not kill them, but that's not where you want to use them.
No.
You really want to get them on an eastern to perhaps somewhat south of east, where they get that morning, early afternoon sun, and then shade through the rest of the day. If you want them to look nice, because there's more to camellias than just flowers. There's foliage, and if you put them in a spot where they get too much sun, the foliage is really going to take a beating. And there's no reason in putting a plant out of place.
That's right.
That's kind of where we started with the pine tree this morning. It was a plant that was put in the wrong spot.
So it's a weed then.
No,
Everything can be a weed,
well,
Josh.
Yeah, if it's out of place. Yeah.
Eventually, it became one because they didn't transplant it; they plucked it out. So there you go.
There it is. How about is it time to fertilize camellias here?
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
Sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, they're not really actively growing yet. They're still tight in their bud, so they're not pushing really new growth. As long as you can keep that fertilizer around the base of the plant, and water it, put your fertilizer down, water it in sufficiently, and then after that, walk away. I mean, yeah, and then it's going to slowly feed through the season. You can use an evergreen, like a holly tone type of fertilizer, and that's good because camellias are an acidic kind of loving plant. So that's helpful with that. And yeah, go ahead and get it dropped, and it's going to use it in the spring.
Nice. All right, we got a question on our Facebook page from Peter. If my lilies have already broken through, can I still break them apart and replant them without killing them?
Oh, lilies.
Oh.
I wonder what kind of lily, like daylilies maybe? Or you think?
I mean, you
daylilies come
can't
up kinda
kill
early.
daylilies.
Nah, you can't kill
do
daylilies
anything
breaking
with
out
them.
yet.
I wouldn't think so either. I'm kind of confused by this. I've got some like Asiatic lilies at the house, but mine haven't started popping
No,
up
mine
yet.
haven't
She's
either, and I
seeing
haven't.
daffodils. Maybe that sometimes it's just confusing the language here of what they actually are.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I
As
would
a
wait
general
until
rule,
next
no
year.
matter
but-
what it is, if it's starting to produce new growth, it's not the time you want to be dividing things.
Not really. No, you kind of should have
I
already
mean,
done it.
Even if it's been misidentified, you can pretty much say with almost all things, you're better off to do it, when it's not in active growth. If you're wanting to separate it, and move some to another location, or at least just give them more space, really not a good time to do it when everything is starting to pump up and produce new flowers and foliage for springtime. So might want to wait, take good notes, and do it at a more appropriate time, at least after the flower cycle is finished, and probably more like November.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Tips on planting poppies from seed. Can I just throw them on the ground? I love poppies and I grow them. And the way I sow them is I'll like lightly till up the soil a little bit and then scatter them on the ground. Though I have just scattered them on top of my already established kind of wildflower bed, and they did fine. I grow the like red oriental poppy, and it comes back every year. And mine, I actually took a picture and sent it to, I think, Tyler and Austin. Mine are coming up. They look so good, and I'm starting to see the little buds start to come up for that bloom. So you can scatter them, but just know they'll start to establish this year, and then next year they'll be even stronger and prettier. So you have to be patient with it. You'll
What'll help
see
them
them
to become established better?
Absolutely.
There is
What?
something that'll help them become established better, is to get in there and work some maybe earth mix landscape or supernatural into your soil.
Of course.
And what that will do is that helps to make that soil as viable as it possibly can be. And it doesn't matter if you're going to scatter poppy seeds or if you're planting hellebores or anything else. There's an earth mix garden products, especially for you. The best thing about all the products, they're 100% organic. There's absolutely no chemical additives to any of them. And they're designed to give you optimal growing no matter what you're trying to grow. And so there's a complete line of earth mix products. A lot of people are getting ready to do vegetable gardening. Earth mix garden, as the name might indicate, is what you want to use. It's ready to use right out of the bag. You can, if you've got a square foot garden or you've just got a little planter area that you're going to plant into, that's a great choice, along with Proganics. Great choices for that. If you're thinking indoors, you look around the studio here this morning, we've got tropicals everywhere. Proganics I is the choice you want to consider. Has no peat, that you get no fungus gnats. It is the preferred choice amongst professionals and avid gardeners for indoor plantings. And again, we have a complete line of earth mix garden products for all things. We have magic mushroom compost, supernatural. We've got sustain, enlighten, Viagra. We've got a whole host of different products particularly suited for every application. So check out all the locations around Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, Northern Alabama, all around. Just go to the earthmix.net, click on the Find Earth Mix tab, and there you'll see all of the various locations pop up. You can either take your pointer and go straight to one such as Southeast Landscape Supply over there in Johnson City, or you can go way over to Memphis and see the millstone over there in Memphis. Anywhere around, check that out at earthmix.net to find those locations and get a complete selection of all the things available to you. Remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products. And we appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that. I know Tyler and I spend a fair amount of time discussing Earth Mix through the week and trying to help get that word out there to everyone so they can have the best success and the least effort required in that success in gardening.
And announcing Hannah's Lawn and Landscape in Hartselle, Alabama is the newest location for Earth Mix garden products this year. So enjoy that further south in Alabama, North Alabama.
South North,
middle upper Alabama. Is it what?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Very
above
cool.
Coleman.
Y'all remind me. I got to get some. I got to start my seeds this weekend.
Yeah, you got to get those.
Cool.
All right, still got some seed questions. Can I toss out wildflower seeds straight into my lawn and pasture? Will it grow?
Maybe.
You can do it.
You could do a lot of them.
You'd have to do a lot. You're not going to get the greatest germination when you just sow it straight into a pasture. You might see some here and there pop up, but you're not going to get just a perfect 100% germination, which with any packet of seed, you're probably not going to get 100%. But doing it that way,
you might not get 10%.
Yeah, you might not get 10 on that one. So I don't necessarily recommend that. No.
This is a time of year when, if for something like that, although aeration in the springtime is not a frequent event, you might consider doing that. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up that surface of the ground, allow that seed to make contact directly with the soil, and have a chance that with rains like we're having today to water that in and to get the seed somewhat covered. At least you're going to up your odds seriously. You could probably, by aerating alone, you could increase your germination from 10% up to maybe 30%. You got to have reasonable expectations, I would say, it's very reasonable that 70% of that seed won't do anything.
I get
Simply
eaten by a
because if
bird,
it gets
too.
dry for a few days, they're just going to desiccate and go away. So you have to be pretty lucky if you just put them on hard ground. It's no different. You wouldn't think about sowing tomato plants, Josh, putting
On the driveway?
tomato seeds down on a hard garden soil.
Oh, no.
And any other seed is no different. You really need to do some preparation. And if you've got an existing pasture you're trying to add something to, aeration gives you that opportunity to be able to do that without disturbing all the soil.
I'm wondering, should we be worried about what grows in the pasture if you've got cattle or horses or goats? I mean, goats probably wouldn't hurt anything. They can eat the rocks, but
I mean, some things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't plant the castor beans or something. The most poisonous
You
plant
kill
on the
all
planet.
of your-
I don't
rice
think they
is in
have
their
castor
diet?
beans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those plants are crazy.
Most of
They're
your
really
seed
cool.
packets will tell you if it's a poisonous plant though, so
Right.
that's good. Like castor beans, if you read the seed label, it'll tell you do not eat these.
Can you even buy them?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Really?
sell them.
We sell
People
them
grow
here.
castor
Yeah.
beans every year. There's beautiful
great
varieties.
looking plant.
I love
It's
that
big.
plant. I
Oh,
love
okay.
it. I mean,
Yeah.
from seed that can get like 12 feet tall in a
Wow.
season. Big old beautiful red leaves. Like there's a green variety that's not as cool, but the red one is money. So
And if you took out all of the plants that have poisonous nature to them, you wouldn't have any.
No.
I mean,
Right.
they all are toxic on some level. Now, to be sure, the ricin that can be derived from castor beans is quite toxic.
Yes, it
You don't
is.
want to be chewing on the seeds or any part of the plant.
nope.
But neither do you want to be chewing on Dieffenbachia, which will
That's true.
explain why, Caroline, that it is known as dumb cane.
Dumb cane.
And it's not because it will render you unable
To talk?
to speak.
Yes.
It will paralyze your vocal cords temporarily. And there are times I'm sure people wish that I would go chew on some.
No, never.
Hey, Linda on the YouTube channel is wondering a 12-inch by 2-foot section of bark just fell off of my water maple. Is that a bad sign?
During the program, that's very bad.
Ooh.
It just happened.
Yeah. I wonder why that. I mean, I wonder how big the plant is, first off. Plants
Right.
can lose some of their bark and certainly heal over. I'm not sure why that would have happened. Maybe a grazing deer came across and hit it or
Hit
something.
it, yeah.
Lightning strike?
That would be more of a crack, I would think, and there'd be some black
Wood
in it, I would
borers?
assume.
Yeah.
Maybe wood borers. There's a reason why that bark slipped off. I don't really know why, but I mean, look around the area where it came off and see if you can press in. If it feels like it's like rotting, that would be cause for concern a little bit. But really, I mean, if something happened, like a deer came across or whatever, like that plant will heal.
Mm-hmm.
Typically,
I have bark that falls off my silver maples all the time, but those tend to just
That's
shed all
bark-
parts.
Yeah, that's bark that's exfoliating in nature and not where you're taking it back to the cambium layer where
Right.
that it's obviously an injury related thing. Trees like shagbark hickories and maple trees and a lot of most trees, particularly once they get of age, are going to have bark that will dislodge and shed off. That's a very natural part of it. So there's nothing alarming about that. But if it looks slick underneath and maybe you've got little holes or there's some other telltale signs, then that should set off some alarms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hey, y'all do yourself a favor and go to Google and just Google image the cork oak out in like the UK. That's how they get corks for wine bottles.
Yes.
Watch how they harvest that cork and see those trees after they're stripped of all their bark and how they come back. These trees have been living for hundreds and hundreds of years, but they go in and they harvest their bark every so often. It is a cool sight to see. Just Google it. Google the cork oak. Try
That's
it.
one of those rare exceptions. You couldn't do that with any other tree that I know of.
You wouldn't want to.
Just,
No.
Well, they just
strip
look
it
so
down
funny
to
when
the-
they're stripped.
Austin, is that Quercus corcus?
No, I wish. I wish it was.
Oh man,
You crack yourself up.
Tyler got tickled.
it was
over
the
there.
goofiest thing that landed in my little mind.
He's got to get himself a drum kit over there so he can do some rim shots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
I don't.
probably already got it.
He's
Hold
probably got a
on.
button
He
over
does.
there.
No, I don't know what I have.
Tyler, you brought up the Tyler cam a minute ago. Did you have something to say?
It was a long time ago.
It was like 2 minutes
It was
ago.
like 2 minutes ago.
No,
He
it wasn't
got
2
over
minutes.
it.
Maybe 3 minutes?
Well, I was just going to say to the wildflower in your yard question, I went ahead and just threw out a bunch of zinnia seeds, and I got pretty decent germination. I probably got, even with mowing my grass, 5 plants. And then the subsequent years, they reseeded themselves until it slowly dwindled to nothing again. But it was pretty powerful to say, well, yeah, actually, if you have to kind of look and see if you mow what's coming up in your yard and keeping your lawn mowed so the seeds have a chance to germinate against all those crazy aggressive grasses, you'll have better chances. And also, it just takes a while to establish wildflowers.
It does. And I will say zinnias are very aggressive.
They are.
They could probably grow on a driveway. Not healthily, they wouldn't look good, but I could
Yeah,
see a
they'd
little
probably
plant
pop.
sprouting up and maybe getting one bloom.
We're
But
going to try a little trench across the front fence, and we're going to actually take my little tiller, and I'm going to take it all
But
the
if
way.
you're wanting to
see
have
what's going
a
on.
tidy lawn situation and wildflowers, they don't work together.
Nope.
You
No.
kind
Yeah.
of got to one or the other, because you mow those down to a few inches, it might not kill them immediately, but they're likely never to flower. Hence, what's the point?
Yeah.
If you're so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
really.
kind of the point of wildflowers, is the flowers part of it. It's not the fact that they're wild.
And
So
while we're also on the subject of that too, Caroline, not next week, but the week after, February 22nd, has a webinar on wildflower beds.
yeah,
Right.
Okay.
So we're
I'm a
gonna
big wildflower gardener. I love them.
we can't wait for that one.
We're going to go to town.
Awesome.
We're going to talk about the wildness
You can
of
register at
wildflower beds.
batesnursery.com. Scroll down to the boot camp slide, click it, and it'll take you to the link to register.
Hey, let's talk for just a minute about the educational things we do here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, or Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp, or all of our various entries that Caroline, Austin, and Tyler, accents mostly, Caroline and Tyler. Austin gets to be on the camera side of it.
The
now,
only
on
side
the,
I should be on.
the camera facing side.
Yeah, I'm not allowed on the other side.
Let him run his mouth.
Oh,
But we really put out a lot of content with great regularity on all manner of subjects. So if you've got something that you have questions about, don't hesitate to go there and check it out and just search through. We've got literally hundreds of different videos out there about all different things. Some are very concise, short, and to the point. Others are quite long form. So if
yeah.
you're looking for a lot of detail, you have that option to you as well. So check it out, Josh. I know you do.
I do,
You're probably
yes.
you go home every evening and study
I do.
the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp.
BNBBC, man. Come on.
We most recently uploaded edible garden planning, Ben's webinar from 2 weeks ago. So that's just hit YouTube. And then also Austin's hydrangea pruning masterclass.
Yep.
With Caroline wielding a very detailed camera to zoom in and show the cuts and what each one likes as far as pruning goes. It's all there on the YouTube page.
And I think those are both great examples of two of our landscape professionals here at Bates Nursery who understand plants at a quite a nuanced level. Of course, Austin does. You get to see him every week. Ben, you don't get to see near as much out of him, but he is a really an incredible horticulturalist. Got a lot of great information. So whether you check him out online or come out to the nursery and get to meet with Ben, he's a tremendous amount of help.
Catch Ben online next week.
Bum.
Ornamental,
All right.
ornamental garden planning. So this is the
Ornamental.
complement to the edible garden planning webinar. And he's going to be talking about all the flowery good stuff and even some edible ornamentals in there
Pansies?
as well that
That's-
you can mix in.
it's good for Ben because Ben actually got his degree in landscape design from the University of Knoxville. Yeah, UT Knoxville. So he's got his degree in design. So he's got a good feel for it.
Very cool.
He does.
I love
he knows
Benny.
a lot.
Love that guy.
Ben is
Miriam's got a
great.
question.
Hey, Miriam.
What's up, Miriam?
Good morning.
Should I fertilize my new last fall azaleas and rhodos? And if so, when?
You know what, Miriam? Why not? Why Why not?
Why not? Just do it.
Yeah, I mean,
Why not?
You know, like I was talking earlier with the Camellias, the Holly Tone is a great product for your azaleas and your rhododendron. They're acid loving, and it's their first kind of growing season. It sounds like you planted them last fall, so why not? Let's get some organic material in there. Let's help them out a little bit. They'll push and they'll look really nice for you.
And I will say, why not, so long as you're using organic?
Yes.
And here's the difference and why you would not want to use a chemical fertilizer, particularly on azaleas and rhododendrons, is that if you flash a large amount of chemical fertilizer, the plant will like it so much so that it will likely, and I have seen this happen on both azaleas and rhododendrons, where they pushed a lot of new growth, so much so that they pushed the new buds off before they ever flower.
Happened to me.
Oh,
Happened to me.
So if you're using an organic fertilizer, it does not push that ammoniacal form of nitrogen, the ammonium nitrate. What's in there in organics is almost non-existent. It's a very, very small amount.
Right.
It's much slower release, so you don't have those concerns. Just another good reason to consider using organics is that it's a lot more forgiving than using chemical fertilizers. So good question, Miriam.
yeah.
Very good.
Good to see you in a way, Miriam. All right, we got some live questions in on Facebook, so let's go ahead and get to those.
Okay.
What are best practices for relocating plants? For example, I have a slow-growing mugo pine that other faster-growing plants are starting to crowd.
Okay. Well, like we talked about earlier in the show, the first best practice is to do this during dormancy. So during the wintertime is when you really want to move this. And relocating is not all that hard as long as you get as much root as you can, like really dig a nice big hole if you can help it and get as much of the root ball as you can. That's going to be helpful. And then like David always says, have your new hole ready and have it just already dug, ready to go. That way you can take that plant and quickly move it to its new home, pack it back in nice and tight, seed it into the earth nicely, and then water it very well, and then walk away.
What a great weekend to do it.
This week would have been spot on, as will the coming week once we get beyond the rain. One of the things that is somewhat curious to me is the numbers of questions that we get about transplanting things after the time has already passed. We are still in that time. So if you're considering it for most things like a mugo pine, it's a great time to go ahead and do that. Just like Austin mentioned, get that hole dug first where you're going to transplant it to. That way you greatly minimize the amount of time it's out of the ground. Now, it's not as urgent this time of year, but if you know you're going to be planting it in another spot, it's the correct order to do it in. So dig that hole, dig it out, transplant it into it. And even if it's just rain, go ahead and water it thoroughly to settle the soil in, get the air pockets out from around the root ball. That's very important from a settling standpoint, and to get it ready to grow on. It's not all just about getting it watered and wet. It needs to get the air pockets settled out of there, and that's the best way to do it.
I feel like Caroline should have answered that question because she loves relocating plants, don't you?
I do. I relocate plants all the time. And I have I don't think I've lost any, but I relocate them when they're dormant. I replanted about 10 types of switchgrass this fall.
Carolyn might suffer from what is known as relocation-itis.
I do. I'm about to relocate 3 Florida Sunshine Elysium probably next week. Listen, they need to go. They need to be in a new spot. It's just how I do things and how I enjoy it. All right, when should I candle prune new growth on Skyland's Oriental spruce?
Oh, the candle pruning. Okay, so we talk about candles with pines and spruce, things that send up, mainly pines. You think about it with mugos, they'll send up they look like candlesticks pretty much, but they're littler, and that's where new growth comes from. So you really, if you want to shorten that and make sure your growth is a lot tighter, then you want to go ahead and get that done pretty much now. I mean, anytime they're not cracking new growth yet. So let's get those shortened to the height you want them at, and then it'll bust nice and tight for you. And that's probably the best time to do it.
What kind of pine was he talking about?
He was talking about an Oriental spruce.
One of the things you can also do, and it's particularly true on pines, when you have those candles pushing out, you'll generally have, say, 4 or 5 side candles and a central one.
Yeah.
You can go in there and just with your thumb or with a pair of hand printers, take the center one out and that will force that energy to the lateral branching. Then, if you want it to continue to grow up as a terminal, like in the very central leader, if there is one, don't do it there, but do it everywhere else. It'll make it much thicker and fuller, and it won't have that trimmed look to it. It'll just be naturally thick and full.
Wow.
And that's what we want.
Speaking of naturally thick and full,
What's that?
let's get your pottery in and get your plantings in. Talk about Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we've been beautifying Nashville since 1932, Josh. And it's hard to believe that we've been around this long. My grandmother, Bessie Bates, started this whole thing back in the day. And at the height of the Great Depression, pretty amazing story. And it's something that I obviously take a lot of pride in. And I'm grateful not only to my grandmother, but the fact that as a really industrious and a woman who absolutely did not take no for an answer, she gave us the opportunity we have today, and that's to be the definitive source for all things plants in Middle Tennessee and all the things that go with them, whether you're talking about trees and shrubs and ground covers and all the things that might be more in Austin's area, or if you're talking about all of the pottery or tropical plants, all those things that are maybe more in Caroline's area, or any of the things in between that all of our landscape professionals do every day. We invite you to come out and see us. We, even on a day like today, when it is perhaps not the most wonderful weather conditions, we've worked really hard to try to create the opportunity through our what is known to our employees as the Bates Trim. It is our inside area where we have connected structure throughout. So everything right now is on the inside. So you can come out and shop for all those things. You might have to poke your head out in the rain for the pottery, but if you're looking to get a great selection of things to choose from, we have it. And we invite you to take some photographs, bring those along with you on your smartphone or tablet, and we'll walk around with you and show you, make suggestions, help you to get a plan together. Even if you decide you don't want to get it right now, it's good to have a plan in mind. You're going to make much better purchasing decisions by doing a little planning ahead. And we certainly want to encourage you to do that here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we are conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike, which is just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And no matter where you're coming from, it is worth the drive. We're open until 2 o'clock today. This is Saturday, February the 10th. So come in till 2 o'clock today. We're here to help you. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 until 4. And those hours will continue until we get through February. So come out and see us. Beautifying Nashville since 1932, Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Come out and see us.
Absolutely.
So, Caroline and Austin, what have you beautified today in the green room?
What's in room with Caroline? Well, we went with a houseplant theme today. So David was just talking about how you can come out, be undercover in the rain. It's a perfect day to shop for houseplants. Yep. So in the corner, we have my favorite ficus. We've got Ficus Audrey. I'd say as far as ficus go, it's very easy to maintain. It likes a lot of light. But in comparison to its sister, the fiddly fig, this one is just so much easier. Cool. And next to it, we've got Ficus altissima, which is very similar to the Audrey ficus. It's just got a variegated leaf. I'll pull one down here. Yeah, it's two-tone. So it's green on the inside, yellow on the outside. And there's actually some light. Oh, where are we? We're up here. There's actually some light green in there as well. Oh, are we? We did lose it.
We lost it.
The camera just couldn't take how beautiful this houseplant was, so it had to go away. But these are great options for a ficus if you want some kind of tree form something or bush form in your house and you have plenty of light.
And if you're just tuning in, we still have audio going. We just have no video going.
I was trying something new, and sometimes when you try new things,
sometimes they just don't
get rewarded.
Hey, there we are.
Jazz hands.
The
Everybody's
beauty
back.
of houseplants.
We talked about this before we went on the air, that it worked great before we started broadcasting live. It's only when it counts. That's just the way it is. So thanks for giving it a shot anyway, Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler. I'm gonna give you
Bravo,
some snaps.
bravo.
Good work.
Now proceed, Caroline.
And then down in front, we've got two types of Sansevieria. Great low maintenance houseplant that's gonna really help the oxygen levels in your home. We've got Yellowstone, which is a little bit more
easy
rare.
to grow.
It's really, really pretty, very bright. And then next to it, we've got just our standard Zeylanica that you see everywhere, but it's a great one. It stays very upright, gets really, really tall, and won't really spread out and take over a corner.
Wow.
And then down in front, y'all, we haven't mentioned what holiday is coming up. Valentine's Day.
Yep.
So today would also be a great day to get out to the nursery. Everybody loves live plants. So instead of
There's a
giving
really
cut
good chance-
flowers,
There's a really good chance for about 3/4 of the cast on screen to screw up badly. So
well, y'all go ahead and
let-
take home a cyclamen.
Don't-
Half of the
let that
cast on screen.
Oh, Josh has got it.
I'm already covered, baby.
So these are great,
But I
and the
can
ones we
embellish.
have down in front are actually already potted up in a nice terracotta pot. So you can just take it, give it as a gift. You don't have to worry about picking out a pot or
There you
trying
go.
to
And get a
repot
little
it.
kissy out there.
Yeah, and then even lower, you can see these little statuary pots that we have, little kissy faces. You can just drop a plant down in there. They're really, really great, and people love them. They're so cute. And then, of course, because it's houseplants, we had to bring in the split leaf monstera. It's a great one, super easy to maintain, and I love it. Then the burgundy ficus. We've got 3 types of ficus in here today. That's going to be the dark, there it is, Tyler, the dark leafed one on the corner. And then lastly, we've gotten some really, really cool plants in this week from a couple different places. But we brought in this spiderweb fatsia, which is right in the middle. Oh,
The
there
white
we
one?
go. The white one.
Oh, gosh.
We got a
And
turntable
you
for
guys,
it.
we now have a turntable to feature plants. So look at this. Oh,
It is very cool.
so the new growth comes out almost solid white, and then as it matures, it'll green up a little bit, but they'll usually keep some variegation on the leaves.
Cool.
Now, this plant can be pretty temperamental. I've killed 2 of them.
Uh-oh.
If you forget about them and they dry out, there's pretty much no going back. It seems like as soon as I watered it, that's what killed the plant. Like drying out, it wasn't dead, and it looked okay, but watered it, it just
Bang.
it rots immediately.
Wow.
But they're really, really great. If you keep up with watering, if you give it a little bit humidity, they need indirect sunlight. So they're pretty great for a home environment.
Stunning.
If you need to be
They really are.
challenged, there's your plant.
There's your
There's the one.
plant. Challenged with beauty right there. But that's what we have in the studio today.
Did we talk
Nice.
about the? Did we talk about the color? Did we?
The cyclamen, she said it.
Cyclamen.
I did.
Cyclamen.
Cyclamen.
Oh,
The
God.
color is fantastic. Hey, but there's also stuff that's outside, and we haven't had this happen in a while or heard this thing.
Oh, what?
The sound.
What?
Are you talking
What? The
about
sounder.
Ah,
with Austin?
Yay, it's back.
I forgot
Wow.
about. We got 3 things in bloom, y'all. 3. All right. We're
That's
starting off
it.
strong this year. We've already talked about it. Hellebore.
Yep.
Oh, during the rest of the year, they're just hella boring. But this time of year, they are in bloom, looking good. So Hellebore's in bloom in your yards. Caroline showed me a picture, so I know this is true. She has a single daffodil bloom
Yes, I
up
do.
and yellow and blooming. Daffodils in bloom. And then there was one more,
that I
Which is-
sent
and
you.
it's
Jasmine?
left me.
Witch hazel.
Witch hazel, that's right.
My
So-
witch hazel is currently in full bloom, and it looks so good.
Mine
nice.
hadn't popped yet,
Yeah,
so-
yours hadn't popped yet? Okay, well,
It's close.
there you go. Those
I
are
put
the
a picture
3.
on my Instagram.
Witch
if you wanna
hazel.
Check it out.
Man, I got a witch hazel in the yard, and the deer absolutely murder it. They just murder it. It's. I mean, I planted a little tiny guy because I'm cheap, and they just come in. They constantly eat the tips out. I don't know why witch hazel tastes good to them. They don't really mess with
You're
much
not-
anything else.
Makes their
You're
breath
not
nice
cheap,
and fresh,
Austin. You're
probably.
that guy that's got the big boxwood budget.
That's the only thing he spends.
You're right.
Boxwood and petunias.
I don't skimp on the boxwoods.
Well, we did buy ours at the same time. They
Uh-huh.
came in off a truck. We got them because it was Maple Valley, who we recently got in, and I bought an Edgeworthia yesterday or the day before that we got in. Maple Valley's great, but they got in the American witch hazel. They were small. We both planted them at the same time. Mine's in
Ours is witch
full
hazel
show right now.
Diane.
Mine's in no show right now. Possibly dead.
No,
it's
maybe-
not dead. It's
maybe
not dead.
one day
The
it
deer
will
just
be.
graze it, man. They just love it.
Speaking
know
of
why.
blooms, Risha in Smyrna wants to know, will her cherry tree bloom this year? It didn't bloom last year, 2023, after the hard freeze we had in December of 2022.
Very good question. Reesh, good to hear from you.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you're talking about a Quan and Cherry. And for some weird reason, Quan and Cherry did not bloom last year. Not anywhere. Yoshino's bloomed. The other one, Akabono or whatever, like there's other ones that bloomed. Everything was fine. But for some reason, Kwanzaa did not bloom. I
And
really
they don't
hope it
bloom
does.
first either. So
No.
it is quite strange. They're the later blooming ones. So that is a head scratcher. Right
It was. Cherries need
Go ahead
cold
and
enough
scratch
temperatures to bloom. And I don't think last year, even though we did have the 3 days of ridiculous cold, we didn't have consistent, really cold all that much last year. And that's my only thing I can think that made the cherries not bloom last year. I'm hoping we've had cold enough temps and enough chilling hours this year so your Kwanzaa blooms. Because what's the point of a Kwanzaa cherry without
Fingers
blooms?
crossed, right?
Fingers
Yep, let's wait it
crossed.
out.
It'll happen. All right, planted 12 green giants last year, and they look a little brown. Is this some kind of disease that I can use something to remedy?
No. It's not a disease. It's the natural
Oh,
bronze.
winter.
Such
Yeah.
a quick response.
It's the natural bronze of the arborvitae. We should write a book on it. It happens every year. It's arborvitae across the board. No matter if you buy a shrub, you buy a tree, whatever it is, arborvitae is going to bronze a little bit over the wintertime, and this is totally normal. Stick it out. It's going to be fine.
Stick it out. It'll be okay.
Hang out and stick it out.
Hang out and stick it out. That
As
is a
Austin would
direct
say
quote
in
from Austin.
That was a blooper. Why did y'all have to bring that up? I didn't mean to say that.
because it was really great.
It's the
I'll
title of
reshare
his
it.
upcoming book, Hang Out, Stick It Out.
by Austin
The
Lowen.
Bates nursery years.
Okay, any fun plants to use in front of my house? It's shady with dappled sun.
Fun.
Fun plants. I will give you one that I
Go
keep
ahead.
wanting to talk about on the no down, and we haven't brought it, and you can probably guess what it is. The arborvitae fern. That seems fun. It will thrive in shade because it is, well, we were talking about that the other day. It's not really a true fern.
It's Selaginella.
Yeah. So,
That's
Interesting.
easy for you to say.
but these ferns look insane. I mean, it's called an arborvitae fern because it has its leaves look like an arborvitae. And I haven't planted one yet. I need to actually buy them so I can test them out. But I am so intrigued by this fern that we have at the nursery right now.
Cool. Hey, you
It's
know,
still up.
I've got one. And
What?
shout out to my friend Shirley Hood, who lives out in Clarksville. I've toured her garden twice now. She's a good friend of mine, a British lady, and she's got a Pieris.
what?
Pieris japonica.
Okay.
She sent me a picture, no joke, y'all, this morning. She was up looking at it. She has a 9-foot Pieris japonica.
Wow.
It is beautiful. It's an evergreen bloomer that likes a pretty shady spot, and hers is tucked in her wood line. It's huge. It is in full bloom this morning. Shirley, good for you. I'm so happy you get to see that. That's
Another
a fun plant.
of those toughest of plants to try to grow.
It
We
is.
have sold them over the years. The overwhelming majority of individuals who attempt to grow them are unsuccessful.
That's
so
me.
Congratulations. That's no small feat.
Yeah, no, I think
They are
she's
tough.
had that for like 20 years. She's been in that home for a while, and she planted it early. And it's like I said, to get a Pieris 9-foot, y'all, you're talking, like I said, decade. I mean, more to get it that big. And it's like David said, it is a notoriously hard plant to grow for a lot of people. It needs that perfect site. Well, she found it, and hers is in bloom. Good job, Shirley. Love you.
Love you.
Perfect site,
Not
perfect
having a-
soil,
Yeah.
perfect everything.
Everything.
If you do everything absolutely correct all the time, then you have a chance. Obviously, she is.
Yep.
On YouTube,
Mine
it
didn't
sounds
last
like
2 years.
Yeah, on YouTube, it sounds like Jane didn't pick the best spot. She said, "Ugh, I just planted a baby witch hazel in the fall, surrounded it with netting to keep the deer from eating it over the winter. Will it ever be able to leave it without growing without the deer protection?"
Once it gets big enough, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, once it outgrows where the deer can reach, I would say. But they seem to love mine, so I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't even put a net around mine. But it's kind of annoying. Like nets and that's just annoying because you got to look at that too, you know, like with your tree. So it's like, well, would I rather the
pretty
deer
quick.
graze a little or look at a dumb net around my plant?
You would rather deer. Deer don't mess with mine. Although I'll get home and they'll have just destroyed the entire thing now that I said that.
No, I live in town. I haven't seen any deers. I mean, it's all good.
All right, let's talk about burning bush. How far down can you prune burning bush, and when is the best time to do so?
David nailed it.
To the dirt. That's the shirt we need.
Pretty much as far as you want is what David means by that. Now, to keep yourself a shrub, to keep yourself having something, take it in half or whatever, It depends on your spot and how big it is and where you want it to get to, but don't worry about hurting it. You can't.
Yeah, that's my point. Is you can't, you won't kill it by trimming it, regardless of how far back you do it. Even if you did it to the ground, that will not kill it.
Nope.
So, shape it up nice. I'm a huge fan. If you're going to have those in your landscape, is prune them really hard at this time of year, at least half, maybe 2/3 of the way back. A lot of the cultivars of it, the older types, really get large. Cut them severely.
Yes.
Do not dabble around with it. Maybe wait until you're slightly angry and do it. And it will help you to work off some of that angst.
Yeah.
Chop it.
But don't wait too long or you cut off the fire, right?
Cut them hard.
Can't cut off the fire.
Well,
maybe use a chainsaw.
The fire is out, Josh.
Yes.
Chop it.
That's right.
Chop it. All right. So this is a very popular plant that we've been getting a lot of questions about, olive trees. So someone is asking olive tree soil, drainage, and light conditions. So you're going to want a well-draining soil. I do recommend the Earth Mix Proganics Eye and mixing some pine fines that we sell, which is just finely shredded pine mulch. It's going to help with drainage. And that pot is going to need good drainage as well. So I recommend using terracotta or ceramic. Terracotta is great because if you overwater it, it will help wick out extra moisture in the soil. So you don't stand as much of a chance as drowning that plant. And now light can be a little bit tricky if you've got your olive tree indoors because they like as much sun as you can get. I mean, they're almost like a cactus if you think about care as far as light requirements go, which is why people have such a hard time, especially this time of year, keeping their olive trees happy, and a lot are losing their leaves right now. Like I talk about all the time, I actually keep mine outside. I keep it in a pot. It stays outside unless temperatures dip pretty low, like I brought it in a couple weeks ago when we got the snow and then brought it right back out. But good drainage, well-draining soil, and as much direct sunlight as you can give it, and your olive tree should be pretty happy.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. Any plants that would be good by my pond waterfall to soften rocks and flow over the sides and stream?
Hey.
Can you establish
Hard
some
rocks,
moss?
you want to soften them. Soften those rocks up.
Soften
Some
them.
moss. What we just got in too.
Is it horsetail reed?
No, that would work, but that would spread and take over. We got some primrose in.
Oh.
Primrose is a good little, like, kind of water-ish loving, not like constant wet all the time, okay, y'all? But if it's like close to the pond, they're really beautiful flowering plants in the early spring. So that could be an option.
Itea, possibly.
Itea would be good. That can handle constant wet feet pretty much. And there's a number of grasses that look really nice against a pond. If you want to go like a tropical look. Yes, sedges. If you want to go a tropical look, you could use elephant ears. They do really well against the pond setting. So there's a number of plants you can use for this. A number of ferns, I think, would work well as long as you got some shade.
I'll just jump in here and say around my pond, this is a pre-established pond that I got when I got my house. Creeping phlox is growing around the edge, and it has actually really grown over in a way that really, like, right on the border of the pond, it kind of spilled over, and I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love creeping
beautiful,
phlox.
It takes years of advanced planning
along
to
with the
make
sound
that
of the
happen.
water.
We need to see pictures of this pond.
Yep.
Y'all, we got to get a hydrangea question in.
Okay.
When to cut back hydrangeas? Now, or is it too early?
Baby.
It's a loaded question. We already
Complicated.
talked about his
Complicated.
Bates Botanical Boot Camp webinar.
Watch the video.
Yes.
Please watch the video. It'll explain everything you need to know about when and what to cut or not to cut on hydrangeas, because I need to know which hydrangea you're talking about, or I can't tell you whether to cut it or not.
We will put the link up for Austin's webinar. It's very informative.
Yep.
It's quick, too, for how much information you fit in there. I think it's about 45 minutes. When you
Yeah.
did your Rose webinar, it was about an hour and 45 minutes. So we were able to bring that down a
You
little
talk
bit.
about the bloom shapes, and I mean that's the thing that you got to know, right?
Well,
I got very detailed.
Austin defines the 5 most popular varieties of hydrangea.
Yeah.
And the issue on hydrangeas is so that the submitter of the question has some understanding of why we're while we're being evasive in answering, is that it's a question of, does it flower on new wood or does it flower on the previous year's wood? And if you cut it now and it flowers on the previous year's wood, you're going to cut all your flowers off. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to kill it. We've got oak leaf hydrangeas, which are an example of something that sets bud on the previous year wood. But every few years, we wind up cutting those back pretty severely and just sacrificing the flowers in order to get that nice, dense, flush growth. So if you're okay with that, it won't kill them. It's just that, you may be sacrificing flowers if it is one of the hydrangeas that blooms on the previous year's wood. And if you don't know whether it's previous or not, if it blooms in the spring, that means it's the previous year. Yep. If it's a summer flowering type, it's going to flower on new wood. And there are more nuances than that, but that's generality will help you a little bit.
Real quick, Deborah K wants to know, is a Spiderweb Aurelia hardy here? Zone 7 plant tag says. Real quick.
Which one?
Zone Spiderweb Aurelia.
Right on the line.
Right on the line.
Right on the line.
So you're taking
Find a perfect spot. Probably is.
Okay. Hey, folks, music means that we got to get out of here for this week. But, hey, come out here to Bates Nursery and Garden Center until 2 o'clock. But next Saturday morning, we'll be here for another hour of Gardening Inside Out. Stay tuned on all the social media. There's notes and information all through the week. We'll see you right here next week from the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.